Hello, hi, my name's Todd Bukins. I'm the creator of ELLLO, and in this tutorial, I'm going to look at 5 types of listening tasks. So we're going to look at what's called a hot task, a warm task, a cool task, and a cold task. Now, this is my own framework that I use to categorize listening activities, and it's a lot of fun if you start using them. So I want to share this with you and kind of get your feedback. What do you think about the 4 different tasks? Okay, so all of these lessons actually are coming from ELLLO. So if you haven't used ELLLO before, we have over 100 grammar conversations where we take a grammar point and we have 4 conversations that use that grammar point. And we are going to take the 4 conversations from ELLLO that use the past passive, and we're going to do it 4 different ways. We're going to do a cool task, a warm task, a cold task, and a hot task. And notice that the language length is about the same, the level's the same, the grammar is about the same, the vocabulary is the same. So you could see how you could have a different activity, completely different listening activity, using pretty much the same content. So usually when we do a listening activity, we often only think of the substance, like, so what is the vocabulary or the grammar that we're using. But what we're going to do is we want to change the structure, we want to change the sequencing, and we want to change the scaffolding. And by changing these 3 things, you could actually change the level of comprehension for the students and also the level of interest and engagement. So the first one that we have is the warm task. Now the warm task is the most common one, and it's called the warm task because we warm students up. Usually we let the students read something before they listen. So for example, you might warm them up by having them read the focus questions or preview the multiple choice quiz or look at the chart or whatever they have to fill out or whatever the activity is. But the students can read it before they listen, and this kind of warms them up and helps generate interest for the listening task. So let's go ahead and do a warm listening task. We have a conversation, 2 people are talking, and we want to answer these 3 questions. Question 1, what was torn down? Question 2, when was it torn down? And question 3, what was it damaged by? All right, so let's listen and see if we could answer these questions.
Conversation 2.
What happened to the old stadium?
It was torn down last year.
Why did they tear it down?
It was damaged by the hurricane 3 years ago.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, a lot of damage was done that night.
Okay, so did you hear the answers? So question 1, what was torn down? The answer is a stadium. Question 2, when was it torn down? The answer is last year. And 3, what was it damaged by? And the answer is a hurricane. So this is your standard listening activity, and it's useful because it helps the students succeed with the task. By having the focus questions, often the students can do better. So we're kind of given a lot of scaffolding here, but there are some downsides. One, maybe the students are only listening for the answer, and they might be missing other bits of language. Now, to alleviate that, you could actually do what's called a cool task. Now, notice with a cool task, now you cannot preview the questions. So a cool task and a warm task are often 2 sides of the same coin. All you need to do is just remove the focus questions or the ability to read the whatever the instrument is, the assessment instrument. If you take that away where students can't read it as they listen, then it would be a cool task. So we're going to see how this works. Now we are going to hear 2 people. They're talking at a subway station. We'll listen to the conversation and then go over the questions after we listen, or we will introduce the questions after we listen. Now, when you do an activity like this, I highly recommend you have the students take notes because they might not hear everything or they might not remember everything. Actually, I should say they might not remember everything. So they might hear it, but they won't remember it. So when you do a cool task, I often recommend that students take notes. Okay, are you ready? Here we go.
Conversation 1.
When was this subway built?
It was built about 30 years ago.
It still looks pretty new.
Yes, it was remodeled last year.
Well, they did a nice job.
I'll say.
Okay, so now let's see if we can answer the questions. Question 1, when was the subway built? The answer is 30 years ago. Question 2, how does it look now? The answer is pretty new. And question 3, when was it remodeled? And the answer is last year. Okay, now we can make it even harder. We can do what's called a cold task. So a cold task is when there is no reading. So all of the questions are oral. That means they're either spoken by the teacher or they're played as audio in the task. So we will do that now. So now what's going to happen is we will hear two people having a conversation. And then afterwards, we will hear the questions and see if we could answer the questions based on what we previously heard. Okay, are you ready? Here is a cold listening task.
Conversation 3.
Do you still go to that hotel by the lake?
No, it was sold last year.
Oh, was it replaced?
No, it was closed and hasn't been reopened.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, summer at the lake hasn't been the same since.
Okay, now let's listen to the questions and see if we could answer them. Here's question 1.
Question 1. Where was the hotel located? A. By the river. B. By the lake. C. By the ocean.
Okay, question 2.
Question 2. What happened to the hotel? A. It was sold. B. It was remodeled. C. It was torn down.
Okay, question 3.
Question 3. When would she go there? A. The fall. B. The spring. C. Summer.
Okay, so let's see how you did. So question 1 was, where was the hotel located? And the answer was by the lake. Question 2 was, what happened to the hotel? And the answer is it was sold. And question 3 was, when would she usually go there? And the answer was summer. So as you can see, a cold quiz is a lot harder. So you're doing the same thing, the same type of language, but just by changing the sequencing and the scaffolding, it could be a lot more difficult. All right, so that leaves us to the hot task. Now, the hot task is completely different. The good thing about the hot task is now you could actually read everything. So it's actually a reading and listening task together. And so you want the students to be able to read as they listen. So we'll do two different task types. The first is we'll play the audio and the students would fill in the missing words. I like to call this answer key audio. So the students could do the task and then listen for the answer, or they could actually just fill in the answers as they listen. And then after that, we're going to go over some of the vocabulary. And to do this, they really need to see the text. It's almost impossible to answer these questions unless you can actually view the transcript. So here we go. Here is a hot task.
Conversation 4.
Do you still play golf?
No, the course was shut down last year.
Oh, that was such a beautiful course. What happened to it?
It was converted to a park.
Well, at least it was put to good use.
Yeah, my kids love to go there now.
So now you can just go over the answers with the students, and then also you can go over the vocabulary. For example, question 1, what phrase means closed? And the answer would be shut down. Number 2, what word means changed? The answer is converted. Why does the man say at least? He's trying to show that it wasn't all bad. And what does put to good use mean? The answer is used in a helpful way. And here, it would be really hard to do this if the students can't see the script. So a hot task often is more about noticing or learning. And the nice thing about a hot task is you can do it last. You can repurpose the audio. So for the first listening, you can do either a warm, cool, or cold quiz, and then you can repurpose the audio and do it again by doing a hot task. And that's it. So as you can see, we've had pretty much the same substance, but what's going to change is the structure, the sequencing, and the scaffolding. But by changing the structure, the sequencing, and the scaffolding, we can actually change an activity and make it easier, harder, more engaging, more interesting, etc. So what about you? Like, which ones do you use? Do you do all 4? in your lessons? Do you do hot tasks? Do you do cold tasks? I'm sure mostly everybody does the warm task. That's the most common one. That one's kind of hard to avoid. Now, if you are interested in this type of thing, we have a free course, How to Teach and Create Listening Lessons. It's a free course for teachers. We show you how to do this step by step. We go more in detail into the 4 types of lessons. We offer a lot of free downloadable lessons like the ones you just saw, so teachers can use them in their classrooms. Also, we give templates so teachers can create their own listening tasks, warm, cool, cold, hot, whatever. And we give step-by-step instructions on how to actually create the PowerPoints and the ingredients, the substance to put inside. You'll have access to audio and text, so you could actually make them yourself. And it's a free course, so if you're interested, please join. And that's it, though. That is the 4 tasks, and I think I talked too long.